Good afternoon. Hi. Um, so today it's a fresh new start. Happy New Year. And I want to explore what any fresh new start is. Um, what's the point? What are we starting? What are we doing? Right? To me, these are the most important questions. What is the point of life? What does it mean to live? What does it mean to die? Um, we will die. Each of us, this form, will perish, will end. Um, and I don't know, I have no idea what this life is about. Um, Actually, the more I question it, the more and more I realize how little I can even perceive, much less know or understand. Um, so what is the point of this life? If you got my email or if you read the introduction in the, is it the introduction? What do they call it in YouTube? The description of the video. Today we're going to be looking at Shitu's classic poem, um, The Song of the Grassroot Hermitage. Um, I'm using Taigen Dayan Leighton's translation um, in Sensei Ben Connolly's lovely book, Inside the Grass Hut. If you ever find Sensei Ben Connolly, he's at the Minnesota Zen Center. And right before the pandemic, I had the tremendous opportunity to spend a week with Sensei Connolly in a week-long silent meditation that was hiking through Glacier, well, just south of Glacier National Park in Montana. And it was there that you really got to see life and death step by step, moment by moment. So it's in the description below this poem. If you scroll down, we're not going to look at the entire poem today, but just a few key lines. And we're going to start with this first one because this comes right to what is this new year about? How can we use this? How can we build upon this moment, right? How can I make whatever this life is about a life that I'm happy with? How do I be a self that I'm content with? Right? That I feel at peace with my life, peace with my existence. So he starts right off with, I've built a grass hut where there's nothing of value. What is that grass hut? It's me, right? I love that imagery of a grass hut, right? We think like of the three little pigs, right? Like the wood house versus the brick house. Like what is more durable? And what kind of hut does this master build? A grass hut, right? Think about how tenuous that is, right? And how piecemeal, right? And soft a grass hut is, right? And he's built this grass hut, right? And how many pieces have to combine to create that grass hut? I've built a grass hut. I've built an identity. I've built a self. I've built a life. I've built a home, a job, a family. I've built accomplishments. I've built failures. I've built this grass hut where there's nothing of value. Everything here is gone. At some point, this beautiful sun that's shining on my face, I still haven't figured out the right place to sit in my new home where I can get the lighting right. And at this time, I didn't realize at this time the sun's right on me. It's beautiful today. This sun at some point will either implode or explode. Apparently, via science, it's some combination of both an implosion and explosion. And everything here is dust. It is dust. It will be dust. Everything is dust. Anyone who's ever lost a loved one, especially at the wrong time or too young or just seemingly out of the blue, like, what is this life about? All these important things that this person or this life was doing, what's the point? How careless we can be with lives, how careless we can be with our own lives. right? And then at some point, all of this, there is no legacy, right? This is dust. This will all be turned, but it will all remain. Every atom of my being, although in a different form, will still exist, right? Nothing created, nothing destroyed. You know, what is it that was it Carl Sagan? One of them said, like every atom, every cell in me, the hair on my head, the iron that runs through my veins, is from the death of another star, right? So death actually is life. So in all this transformation, these huts that we build of home and family and life, nothing is of value. Value is an idea. It's a concept we put on something. I mean, we've all probably at this point heard that analogy of the value of a bottle of water. Like it's either 10 cents if you buy it in a case, or 5 cents for one bottle of water if you buy it in a case of like 48, or it could be $10 if you're in an airport or somewhere, or if there's a water shortage or something, it could be very expensive all of a sudden, this bottle of water. The value is arbitrary. It's something we put on something. It's not inherent. And ultimately, there is no value. And that can at first be really discouraging. Like, oh, there's no value to any of this. All these things that I'm building, what's the point? And that's the question we really ask. And that's the question I'm calling us to ask with this new year, because we do have a new opportunity right now. Science shows that the start of anything new is a time when we can actually make some meaningful change, some meaningful starts. And it can be, a new Monday, a new retreat, right? Like these are opportunities, whatever psychological role they play in helping us rewire ourselves. Great, use it. Is it arbitrary and unreal? Yes. Can we use it? Absolutely. Right? So let's use it. So we start off with that premise. I've built a grass hut where there's nothing of value, right? And if you go down, I'm going to skip the next stanza, and the second stanza too. We'll get into that in future. I'm going to use this poem for a couple of weeks. There's so much great depth here. And go down to the third stanza, the third line, where he says, firmly based in steadiness, it, whatever it is, can't be surpassed. That's what we practice. I'm sitting here, on my little mat and my cushion, right? This is a practice for me, even just teaching. I'm going to get into the position. I try to sit a few moments before I start letting the words come through me. I prepare to a certain extent, and then I just try to let, I don't know what it is, speak, right? And I built a grass hut where there's nothing of value, many lines down, firmly based in steadiness. It can't be surpassed. This steadiness, this discipline of being in my body. I've talked about this every week, about being in your integrity, which is physical. I love that all of this work is physical, not mental. It's a physical practice, and it's in this lower belly breath. It's not the head, it's not the heart, it's your hips, right? The head has ideas of right and wrong and good and bad. And if you get too obsessed with what you think is right, as I alluded to in the email I sent, you could be the next Hitler. As I've explored my own mind and my own heart over the years, the closest thing I can come to a definition of evil is thinking I know something is right? That this is how I think life or things should be, right? And that's me imposing my will on another, on the world. And again, I don't know. It's not even that I don't know and it's somewhere else it's known and I'm just not able to access that knowledge. It itself is known. There's that great, I think I have to close this curtain or take off. All of a sudden it's so hot in the sun. I'm going to take off my sweater. There's this great TEDx talk, not TEDx, it's an actual TED Talk. It's not one of those X's. There's a great TED Talk by Donald Hoffman where he talks about, from a scientific perspective, how little we can perceive, how most of existence is beyond our ability to perceive anything. So with the senses that we have, right? Um, and so we can't know this. It is beyond finding out, right? But the asking of the questions, in my experience, and don't take my experience as gospel, I'm still learning, I'm always learning. But the more I ask these questions, the more deeply connected I feel to myself, to this life, and then to others. And the more connected I feel, the more at peace I am with my life. Doesn't mean that it's right or wrong, but also it's in those times of deep connection that I can actually have a sense of, wait, my desire is actually harming another, right? And is that truly what my desire is? Because ultimately, as science also points out, we are the whole thing. What I do to you, I'm doing to myself. How I see you is how I'm seeing myself. And this isn't some airy fairy new age, like all is one Om kind of whatever. This is science, right? If you go to the International Space Station and look at the Earth, you see one thing, right? I talked a couple of weeks ago how in, the Lives of the Cell book, science shows that the organism is not the bee or the ant, it's the hive or the anthill. The community is the organism. But the individual can't sense this unless they're quiet enough to listen to the body. And that's what this work is about. So firmly based in steadiness, it can't be surpassed. When you're steady in the here and now, physically still, remember this is a physical practice, not a mental one. When you're physically still is the only time you can actually notice how quickly everything is moving. I remember years ago, actually, in sunlight quite like this at a long extended Zen retreat, I was sitting there and there was a beam of sun that came in and was like right on me. But I was sitting in that same spot all day long. And it was the first time I really internally got to feel and know how much life is movement. Because that beam of sun never stopped moving, right? It's never static, right? But like the difference between the person who's on the train versus the person on the platform watching the train, when you're on the train, you can't notice how quickly it's moving. You can't feel it. It requires you being still to notice the movement and to observe it. So it's when we're based in that steadiness that we get a sense of how dynamic and changing and moving this existence that we have is. Right? Okay, going on. I don't know if I highlighted this in the reading, but just sitting here with head covered, all things are at rest. In the mess of the world, just sitting here with my head, I kind of wish my head was covered right now, with head covered, all things are at rest because I'm at rest in my body. And this is right. Thus, this mountain monk doesn't understand at all. She too is considered one of the wisest of the Zen masters. And his big wisdom is that he doesn't understand at all. And it's through that deep, vast not knowing. Right, there's another book. Is it right here? Yes. Another book that I love to study and read is this one, Great Doubt. Right? And this is this great doubt, this not understanding. I'm going to actually use the great doubt to shield me from the sun. This great doubt is not uncertainty. Like, what do I do? Is this right? Is this wrong? It's not like that hyper. It's steady. It's awe. It's wonder. It's I don't know. And that difference between uncertainty and awe comes down to presence, to being in your body, to being grounded in yourself and aware of this life, aware of the movement. I'm feeling anger. That anger is not going to stay, just like this sun is not going to stay in this position, right? I get this warmth of the sun for a short period each day, right? If I can stay with it as it is, I will notice how dynamic and moving it is, and I will learn something from it. In my experience, all anger is my body telling me that something is very wrong, and that either I or my circumstances or my environment must shift and change, right? And it's never the other person, as I always allude to, it's always within yourself. It's how are you respecting and listening to your anger, your pain, your sorrow. But that it comes from firmly based in steadiness. It can't be surpassed. But just sitting here in this steadiness, in this rest, this mountain monk doesn't understand at all. Right? I don't know. What is meaning? What is purpose? I don't know. Living here, he no longer works to get free. Where is here? It's now, and now, and now. And this is why we practice on Thursdays being in the now, going into the silence, going into our bodies, and just practicing staying in the now and realizing that in that now, my mind is wandering, and that too is it. Could you imagine living here so that you no longer ever have to work to be free? Free from what? Free from our own minds, our own fears, our own desires. It's not getting rid of them. It's being free from them. They're there. My mind is here. My love is here. My fear is here. But I'm free of them. I'm not attached to them. They are no longer me. They just are. And they're moving along with everything else. This is why this practice is so beautiful and so powerful. And he instructs us on how to live right here. The second to last stanza. Turn around the light to shine within, then just return. Everything is in that line. Everything. Turn around your light. What is your light? Your attention, right? If I turn on the lights, I can see where I put my light, where I put my attention is what I see. Turn around your light to shine within. That's why we sit. And in the way that I teach, we're not closing our eyes and going into, we're not closing our eyes and trying to close off the world. No, this isn't about running away. This is about being in existence, being in your life, right? We cast our eyes down and we turn our attention inward, turn our attention here. Yeah? Turn your attention in. And then just return again and again and again. What are you returning to now? And then that now is gone. So it's a continual returning. And as you return to now, you realize you're returning to yourself. And at some point, you realize that returning to self is returning to the whole. Right? But I cannot explain this to you. It's like trying to explain a mango to someone who's never eaten fruit. Any words I use are useless until you take a bite. Right? That's why we practice. That's why we practice. That's why we got to practice. Turn around the light to shine within, then just return. The vast, inconceivable source. Inconceivable. It's inconceivable. Can't be faced. I can't see it. And can't be turned away from. I can't be out of it. It's like a fish in water, right? You're in it. You are the vast, inconceivable source. You can't face it. You can't see it. You can't know it. You can't understand it. And you can't run away from it. You can't ignore it. Right? This is it. We are it. You are it. You are it. Meet the ancestral teachers like this guy. And he's talking about the ancestors before him. This is a 2,500-year-old practice, and a lot of wisdom is out there. Oh, it's 12 o'clock. The bells are going to ring. I love that part. I moved across the street from a church, and there's a school there. So I realized when we're teaching, it's almost always recess. So there'll always be the joyful sounds of kids screaming and having fun outside. And then at 12, the bells ring. It's quite lovely. And the sun shines. Turn around the light to shine within. Then just return. The vast, unconceivable source can't be faced or turned away from. Meet the ancestral teachers. Be familiar with their teaching. Be familiar with them, but don't believe them. You must find this out for yourself. This is why I like the Buddha out of all the, call him religious. He's more of a philosopher. more of a practitioner almost, not so much mind about the practice. But he admonished his followers on his deathbed, do not believe a word I say. You must find this out for yourself. So study the ancestral teachers, read them, but question them, doubt them. Yeah. Bind grasses to build a hut. We're not getting rid of our identity. We're not getting rid of our homes and families and loves and angers and pains. Bind grasses to build a hut. Don't give up. Keep going, keep asking, keep seeking, keep living, keep being. Let go of hundreds of years in all directions, the past, the future, and relax completely. Come completely into here and now. The only place your life can be. Open your hands, walk, relax, right? Release. Release all this that we're holding on to, what I think is right and wrong. Just release. And walk, move, walk, move. Don't stay static, walk. Innocent. You are innocent. Whether we believe it or not, you are. Thousands of words, myriad interpretations are only to free you from obstructions. What obstructions? The ones here in your head. Those are the obstructions to the here and now. The second you're in your mind, you are no longer present to the reality of now. You're not alive. If you want to know the undying person in the hut, the person who doesn't die when the sun implodes or explodes, if you want to know the undying person in the hut that you've built, don't separate from this skin bag here and now. I just love him as a writer. If you want to know the meaning, the purpose, the why, the point of life, don't separate from this skin bag here and now. It's vast, it's inconceivable, and it's right here in this body, this breath, this sunshine on my face. Don't separate from yourself and your life. All right, so I've done a lot of talking. We're already over 12 o'clock, but I wanted to share this with you as an inspiration for the new year. Your life is here and now. Yeah. And in all my exploration, I have no idea what any of this is. Not even like what the purpose. I don't know what this is. And that's actually, the more I embody that, the better and better that not knowing feels. At first it was awful. There were dark nights of a soul where I was literally huddled in the fetal position for sometimes weeks, like battling, like, who am I? What am I? Crying. I wailed a long time, really asking these questions as the more and more I looked into the answers I thought I had and saw that they were wrong or empty or full of shit. Excuse my language. Ooh, shouldn't say that here. The meaning and the purpose is in this moment. And that's already gone. It's empty. To be fully alive, as far as I can tell, is the only point. And in my experience, to be fully alive is a practice, because my head and my heart want to get involved all the time. They have their fears, they have their wants, they have their ideas of what I should and shouldn't do and what you should and shouldn't do. And it's all baloney. It's all baloney. My life is here and now, in this sunshine, in the sound of the kids' voices, in my somewhat connection with you people who I don't know who's here. And I can't see who's here. Like if you're watching right now, I don't know that unless you come and say hi in the chat. And I love if you guys say hi. I'd love to make this more of a conversation. So please always do ask questions, feedback, give me pushback, share with me your ideas. I'd love to hear what you think. Your insights are your life, right? I love it. I love it. But live. Check out these questions for this new year. What is your life? Who do you want to be? How do you want to be? Right? Ask these questions and ask them until something feels good in your whole body, in your head, in your heart, but in your body. Your body always knows if your heart or your head are acting out of fear or greed or ignorance. Your body knows if you can listen to it, and you can. Everyone can. It's just a skill like anything else. It takes practice. So with that said, I hope you practice. We're going to practice this Thursday at 11:40. The Zoom link is in the email if you're on my mailing list. If you're not on my mailing list, you can go to my website and just sign up for the quiet encouragement emails or for just the Zoom link for the weekly Thursday class, where we just practice sitting and being together, breathing in this moment, this vast, beautiful, unknown life. Happy New Year. I hope this was useful or helpful. If you're watching this in the replay, ask me questions, comment, tell me I'm wrong, tell me what you think, because I am wrong. I don't know. All right. Have a very, very happy New Year. And I'll see you guys all hopefully Thursday for the most important part, which is the practice. And again, back here next Tuesday. Okay. Thank you all. Bye.